Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Katie and I upload book related videos every single Wednesday, and I just want to say if I'm talking a little bit quieter than normal or if I seem like I'm stumbling with my words, it's because it's currently 7 a.m. on Tuesday when I'm filming this, but this was the only time this week that I had to film before I went to work. And as I've said before in my previous videos, I've never seen the person who lives above me, but somehow he still manages to freak me out, so I don't want to disturb him. But anyway, today I'm going to be reviewing Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and I do kind of feel like I'm the last person on YouTube to read and review this book. I know the hype is long past, so maybe I've just missed the boat on reviewing this one. But with her second novel coming out, Little Fires Everywhere, even though it's not a sequel, obviously, I just really wanted to check out her debut novel first. Today's review will be spoiler free as always, so let's go ahead and get into it. So at the basis of this story we have the Lee family. They're living in 1970s Ohio, and it showcases how their family is impacted when their eldest daughter Lydia, who's 16 or 17 and very much the favorite child, is found dead in the nearby lake. The book is told from every single family member's point of view and also forward and backward in time. You have the father James, who's Chinese American, the mother Maryland, who kind of looks like your very stereotypical blonde, and then the children Lydia, Nath, and Tana. I almost forgot her name, which makes sense if you've read the book, even though I did really like her. So first for the pros, the fact that this is a debut novel, I went to reach for it, but I realized I don't have a physical copy with me because I listened to it as an audiobook. But the fact that this is a debut novel is just baffling to me. Because sometimes you read a debut novel and you're like, it's really good, but I can like sense the newness of the author. With this book, that was not apparent whatsoever. I absolutely adored the writing style. This is one of those times where even though it was the first book I've read by them, I can just sense that I'm gonna love all of her subsequent books. Also, you guys know that with the books I read and review, I tend to read books that more so thrill me than emotionally impact me, and this book definitely falls into the latter category. I had no idea, I just couldn't anticipate how heavy my heart was going to be while reading this, whether it was monumental bad things that happened or just tiny things that family members would say to each other that were just a little hurtful or sad. Every single time it felt like I was just being like stabbed in the heart. But I have to say Celeste did a good job of having it tugging on your heart, but also not feeling sappy, at least to me whatsoever. And before I keep going, I know I just said that I read books that thrill me, that don't emotionally impact me. My favorite combination is books that do both. So if you have recommendations for books that are very intense and kind of scary, but also emotionally have a lot of impact, let me know. I also was just amazed at how articulately the timeline was weaved. Those times are because I didn't have the physical book on me. I don't know if the author had like at the title, beginning of each chapter, the date and who was talking, but it was just so well done, and there wasn't, you know, a specific timeline where it was like, now we're gonna go forward 5 years, now we're gonna go back 5 years, now we're gonna go forward another 5, back another 5. There was none of that. It really was kind of all over the place, but somehow felt really consistent and steady. Now I'm gonna get into, I shouldn't call this cons, I'm just gonna call it things to be aware of if you're gonna read this book. So whoa, I just got really close. So the number one thing I would say to be aware of is the marketing for this book. I wouldn't say the marketing is incredibly off, but it does make it seem like this is gonna be, I think it even says on the inside cover, like a fast-paced page turner that's a mystery. And yes, throughout the book you don't find out how and why Lydia is dead at the bottom of the lake until the end. It really doesn't feel like a mystery, at least it didn't feel that way to me whatsoever. Much more so, it's a story about family, it's a story about parenting, it's a story about race, about the fact that James is Chinese and Marilyn is not, and how the children are both and how they're looked at by society in 1970s Ohio. It's also about being a woman in the 1970s and having to make that choice whether you want to be a stay-at-home mom or go into the working world. So this is very much I would say not fast-paced book whatsoever, and very focused on characters. So if you're in the mood for like a fast-paced mystery, I would say hold off and pick this book up when you're interested in reading more so just a reflective character study. Because I've definitely seen some reviews where people are like, oh, I really wanted a fast-paced thriller, and for those people I can understand that when it's doing a flashback to where James the father is 5, they're gonna be like, I don't care what's happening here. This I would also point out, because I always do tend to look at 1-star reviews after I read a book because I just want to see why people hated it, and the number one reason people gave it 1 star was because they felt like the characters were not very likable, which I can understand, because I would definitely say I came away from this book not liking at least 2 of the characters and their 5 points of view. And as I said at the beginning, emotionally this is a very heavy book. I don't think there was maybe more than like one tiny moment when I happen to smile while reading it. So just think about the headspace you're currently in, and if it's a good idea for you to be reading a book like this right now. I do think we should all, of course, read books that make us think and that emotionally impact us, but sometimes you need a book that's lighthearted to put you in a better mood, and sometimes you don't. So just keep that in mind before you check it out. Okay, so that was my review of Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I'm trying to decide if I want to start reading this immediately right away, or maybe read, you know, something a bit more lighthearted to lift up my spirits before I check this out. So let me know if you want to see me review Little Fires Everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and run off to work, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.